Hi, everybody. Welcome to the noontime edition of Vintage View. Happy afternoon. It's a little odd. Normally, I'm doing this more towards the evening for you, but thought it'd be fun to do a little bit of little something different, a little noontime lift for the spirits and a little break, a step away from your day. So again, welcome to Vintage View with Kimberley, JB Hudson Jewelers. Just wanted to let you know, JB Hudson is open for curbside, online. We can do webinars for jewelry. Certainly, please feel welcome to go to our website and take a look at all the gorgeous jewelry and watches and estate jewelry that we do have available for you. Kind of a really nice uplifter for these times is to get something pretty, something special that you can have. And it's a far better reminder than what we've been going through these past several weeks. So I want to tell you who I am. I'm Kimberly Thompson. I've been with JB Hudson 37 years. Estate jewelry has always been my passion. I was the child that when my friends and I, in the afternoon, we'd go out on, of course, these are the years where you could do this. We would go out on our bicycles on Fridays and hit the garage sales. And my friends were always looking for, the latest toy that they could buy cheap or something that they could add and play with and throw away, or maybe pick up some pieces of clothing or something. I was the girl. Yep. I was the magpie that brought home everything bright and shiny that I possibly could. And that usually was jewelry. I remember my first piece of jewelry that I ever bought. I was 9 years old and I was at a garage sale where a lady had a box of very, very dirty jewelry. And I went through it and I picked out an unusual brooch. Didn't even know it was a brooch, didn't know what it was, just thought it was cool and pretty. And decided I needed to learn more about it. So I paid her the 50 cents for it and brought it home. Unfortunately, I no longer have the brooch or I would show it to you, but it turned out it was a George Jensen fibula. It was a great 1920s sterling silver Scandinavian piece that I bought at a garage sale, and that kind of fueled the fire ever since. But going back to the fact that I didn't know what it was, that's kind of the basis behind what's going on today, what I'm talking about, bits and bobs. I've had people ask me that, like, I don't know what this is, and should I be looking for it, or where did it come from, or how do I define it? What do I tell somebody I'm looking for? So that's what today's is. Vintage View, bits and baubles. So we're going to start with the first one. And this is something that I see a lot today. I adore them. This is a gate bracelet. And they're basically English. Matter of fact, pretty much totally within that purview of English jewelry. There's a few American pieces out there because we did copy them a lot. And a gate bracelet will almost always have a padlock on it. Padlock being in the heart shape, being a sentimental piece, the locking of the gate, which actually could be kind of creepy. The locking of the gate, putting it on the wrist, securing it with the little key, the key to my heart type thing. Next one, Jen. And here we have another rendition of an American one. But on the left there, you see why they're called a gate bracelet. They were named after the hand-woven fences and gates in England that were throughout the countryside, whether they were there to keep stock in or for horses to jump over. This is how gate bracelets got their names. They looked remarkably like these beautiful English fences. Pretty cool, huh? Next one, Jen. Another thing, we're talking about aigrettes. First of all, French word, really hard to pronounce. To me, it looks like an A with an egret, which surprisingly is the etymology for the name. It comes off the fact that they're usually topped by an egret feather. So hence the phrase aigrette feather. So that prior picture there was actually, let me just see here where she went. Prior picture was Marie Antoinette wearing aigrette. This is a beautiful chaumet piece that is an aigrette that attaches as a tiara style instead of being attached to fabric. This was totally tiara style. The next one is a gorgeous, gorgeous Cartier piece showing that heavy Mughal influence of the carved emerald, which was a historic and antique piece. And again, this would sit up on a turban. We'll go to the next one. You'll actually see, Evelyn Walsh McLean, the lady who frankly owns some of the most notable jewelry in the world, including the Hope diamond. Here you see the beautiful aigrette on the top of her head with one of the culling diamonds at the top, which is insane. But all of these aigrettes go back to the original form of an aigrette, which is, should be the next slide. It's an Indian turban jewel. It always sat at the front piece of the turban where the wrap was occurring. It almost is always the most predominant gemstone on the wearer at this moment. But I'm pretty certain, looking seriously at this gentleman and the bottom part of his necklace, and that is the Cullinan 7 diamond at the bottom of this necklace. And frankly, he was not happy with the way this necklace looked. He ended up having Cartier do away with the pearls and replace them all with bibs, multiple bibs of diamonds, just like what you see where the pearls are. So the gentleman had taste. You have to give him that. So an aigrette is a feathered turban ornament. Today we wear them on lapels. Dog collars. Dog collars, as much as they sound like they should be on your pet, were actually a style of jewelry. Women's necks were considered to be one of the most beautiful aspects of her body. Every Victorian woman wanted a long, graceful, swan-like neck, and a dog collar emphasized that. They're rigid, they were tight, they helped you hold that incredible posture that Victorian women were expected to have. And so here we actually show Queen Mary wearing the Love Trophy collar. And she has out, again, some more of the Cullinan diamonds. This is in 1910. I have to admire this woman's wardrobe. She has some of the English royal household has some of the most gorgeous historic jewelry in the world. But when you're looking at a dog collar, the original European ones were, as you see here, they're very paneled. You see sections going around the neck, which means these were custom made and custom fitted for the recipients, because they weren't held together by a bunch of little chains or in my case, safety pins in the back. They fitted perfectly and had to be put on you. The American version of these gets much softer, and you tend to see a softer look. Now, here comes in a direct opposite. I have been in the trade for 37 years, and I have heard people talk about these beautiful little necklets as dog collars because they sit very, very tight to the throat. Here's the difference. A dog collar sits up on the throat. A necklet sits wrapped tight around right where the neck and the shoulders come together. They're very snug. They're meant to show off a very feminine feel, almost like a frame, as opposed to something rigid holding your neck up. So a necklet can either be, like you see here, link style. It can be slightly more rigid, like a torque, which is just a single ring. But they're always right at that junction of the neck and the shoulder. Gorgeous piece. Who couldn't wear this today? You put this with a black cashmere tank and a pair of gray wool trousers and you're set. Cocktail in one hand, great watch on the other. You're done. Creole earrings. I hear this a lot, and I love Creole earrings. Creole earrings came about as an aspect of archaeological revival when all the digs were happening around the world, particularly in Greece, Italy, the Mediterranean, Egypt. They were finding these mashed hoops that were penannular. They were hoops that were snug tight up to the ear. They always start wide, they taper out to fat, and quite often they'll have something off the bottom. And the ear wire, as you see, curves way up, so it really helps it hold it up on the ear. So all through Victorian time and the early 19th century into the 20th century, this is what a Creole hoop looked like. Just like this is what a Creole hoop looked like, where they faceted so they'll catch a little bit more of the light. This is a later pair, and that faceting arrangement is done to actually bounce electric light, so they sparkle more. Post Audrey Hepburn, this is now what Creole earrings look like. They're up on the ear. They hang from a stud or a button on the ear via a chain or a hoop of some kind. And the hoop twists and turns and swings freely. Very sexy, far cry from the original earring. So here you have an example of continuity and time actually separate out the same word and make it two different things. It's still It's still earring. It's still on hoop style, but very, very different aspects. Okay, go on. En tremblant. En tremblant comes from that French term meaning to tremble. Jewelry was put together so it was on springs and loaded so it would move when you walk. Now, frankly, I'm not surprised that this was invented by the French. It was considered poor manners to really ogle a woman's body. So you tried not to, but if you could draw attention to it and place your beautiful trembling pins in areas where they would move and highlight your attributes, it was incredible. You could actually get movement. I'm actually getting a question here. Yeah, no. So en tremblant is movement back and forth. It also is jewelry that is on hairsprings. So you do have to treat it with great respect and take care of it. No trying to bend it, no trying to reposition it. The unfortunate thing is so many of these have broken over time and people literally solder them shut so that they do not move anymore. Next. Paru. What is a paru? A paru by definition is a collected group of matching jewelry in a suite meant to be worn all together. And here's a gorgeous paru. We're looking at sapphire and diamonds. I believe this is in one of the museums, I believe. Sorry, I apologize. My notes do not say here. But a paru has 3 or more matching pieces. A demi-paru, a paru has more than 3 matching pieces. A demi-paru is up to 3. So this is a great piece that Skinner's had for sale, the gorgeous amethyst, English suite, and you can see the convertibility factor, the drops all come off. So this is a paru. I love it when I find parus in boxes. It meant they were really well taken care of. It was important that they were all kept together because quite often we'll find they've been pulled apart. Another beautiful diamond one here that was at auction at Sotheby's. And let's go on to the next one. Rivas Jewelry. Rivas Jewelry is basically jewelry that is a puzzle. I mean, the one on the left is very simple. Forget me not. The one in the middle is I live for you. I live for you. You got the I, you've got the U tree. And then the one on the far right, if I can make my screen go away, that one is I love you. They're really wonderful. The Victorians loved puzzle rings. They loved things that were hidden and secret. Time is on the wing. This is actually a new piece done by Signet, a lovely little company. Based on, and they modeled this, they actually took an impression, go back one, they took an impression of an early seal and it says time is on the wings. It basically time flies. That was gorgeous piece. Now we have the Mizpah. Mizpahs are one of those things that historically, when you look back, the etymology of the word means watchtower. And it came about as an agreement between Joseph and Laban, saying they built a watchtower between their 2 lands, and it stood as God is as my witness between you and me. God is witness. God is overseeing this agreement. And somehow the Victorians turned it into the Lord watch between me and thee when we are absent one from another. And quite often these are pieces that could be broken apart and each person kept a half and it wasn't whole until they physically saw each other again and the halves were put back together. So it's kind of interesting. It started out as a stern warning saying, keep the agreement. This is the agreement before God we've made, to becoming just a Lord watch between us. One more Rivas piece that I forgot to put in here. Such a cool piece. You're looking at one that was, now if I can find, this is May the Wings of Friendship Never Lose a Feather. Now they spelled lose a little differently, but it's a great statement, great sentiment. This was a piece from the Three Graces. I believe they sold that on their website. Okay, next picture. Acrostic jewelry. So acrostic jewelry, we're looking at jewelry that has a message spelled out by the gemstones. And Malario, who was a French jeweler from born in 1765, died 1850. He was the one who really invented this. The French court was enthralled with jewelry that used precious gemstones to spell out messages. And this one actually spells out souvenir. So you have sapphire, opal, I'm not sure what the U is, goes all the way across to spell, oh, wait a minute, this one might not, this might spell something else. Oh, I think we have the wrong side, but that's okay. It's really jewelry that enchanted the French court. And then if we go on to the next one, the English took it a step farther. They made it a very sentimental, and for the English, it's called regard jewelry or dearest. Whereas here you see the gemstones on these beautiful little pendulate earrings spelling out. On the left, we have diamond, emerald, amethyst, ruby, emerald, sapphire, and topaz. So that says dearest. And the one on the right spells out regard. And they're actually locket style so that they open up. Incredibly enchanting pieces that we don't see as much of today because they were more made for the masses, and they weren't as well made or as durable. They tend to have a little more fragility to them because they were popular and they wanted to sell them. Next one. What is a navette? I get so many people asking, they'll call it navette, they'll call it navette. A navette is actually what we would today call a marquise shape. It is an ellipse starting with points at the end, having equal lobes rising out and tapering back down to the center. Very, very popular Victorian, extremely flattering on the hand. They tend to have a lower profile and they also are long. Quite a few of them, they will go from knuckle to knuckle. So that is a navette. Now, lorgnettes. Lorgnettes, I was first introduced to them because I had a friend who collected unusual little whimsical things, and she found a very simple gold lorgnette one day. We didn't know what it was, so we had to figure it out, and got into this whole subculture of these incredible jeweled objects that were used to show wealth. They were used to maybe enhance vision, I'm not sure, because a lot of them the correction is very little, if any at all, when I've actually looked through them. But they are a way of showing your sophistication and your knowledge of the world. So here's a gorgeous pair that are carved out of jade, and we have black onyx. Lorgnette chains. So to get back to one of the reasons I first saw these, quite often we will come across these extremely long chains, and families are like, I don't know what they were for. Maybe it was for a watch. Maybe, we don't know. Quite often it could have been a watch, but more often it may have been a lorgnette, because that allowed the wearer to keep them secure on the body and yet still bring them up and have freedom of arm movement when you're holding them up and looking through them. I'm just enthralled with the fact that I could see some great dowager holding that up, snapping them open because the little lenses fold up and go inside that case to be secured, and staring banefully at somebody across the ballroom. It's such an affectation, but I absolutely adore it. Next picture. Difference between vest buttons and glove buttons. Quite often I will see sets out of matching buttons when I'm out and about, and you're hard pressed sometimes to figure out what they are, unless you go back to what their uses are. The vest buttons are men's buttons for vests, or what they call waistcoats in England. Quite often they'll either have a male theme, a sporting theme, or in case of those other ones, if you go back one, Jen, a little bit more of a girly theme, a kind of risque theme. That probably would have been some young man about town putting those on, having those on. Glove buttons, on the other hand, are made to attach gloves. Once you slide your hands into the very long opera gloves, there's the slit at the wrist with the 3 buttons, and then you button it up so they become tight there. And so that they follow the line of your wrist. Those are usually sold in sets of 6 also, whereas waist buttons with their male theme can be 6, 8, or 10, depending upon, are they Regency, are they Victorian, are they Edwardian, what was the vest or waistcoat like at that time. So Number one, on the buttons, look for the theme. If it seems masculine, they're for men. If they seem small, petite, and dainty, they're probably women's glove buttons or buttons for the batiste. Okay, next one. Luck and Booth brooches. Great pieces. They are a traditional piece that was handed out there from city of Edinburgh, where they originated. And the Royal Mile there that leads up by St. Giles had all these beautiful little locked booths that sold trinkets for the tourists and for the people that lived there. And quite often they were little silver trinkets. And so the Luck and Booth actually came out of these gorgeous hearts for love, for royalty. And you'll have them put together. When they're two together, it's a love brooch between a man and a wife. They're quite often used as betrothal gifts. The crown on the top signifying the royalty and the fact that this was a very serious approach. It wasn't taken lightly. And then the one in the middle is very, very interesting. That's a Luck and Booth on a druid's heart, or what they call a witch's heart. Witches' hearts have the pointed ends that usually curve to the right. And not only are they love tokens, but they're warding tokens. They keep away the evil eye. You'll often see them pinned to children's clothing, and somewhere in the cradle with the child as the way to ward off evil intentions or the evil eye. Today, they're just charming, great brooches that can be worn by men or women. These little French pieces, I come across these all the time. I have people coming in saying, I have a gold brooch to sell, and as soon as I see it, quite often the inside of me, I shrivel up a little bit, because these are French fix pieces. And fix, F-I-X, is actually a trademarked name to a company called Savard, who did these incredible little medallion pieces. And they actually hired renowned sculptors and artists, French artists, to like Becker, to do these pieces. But on the inside is only about 2 to 3 karat gold and other alloys. And then on the outside, they found a way to heavily apply, and it's not really quite electroplating, but it's a close concept, pure gold to the surface. So when you look at these and feel these, they feel right, they look right, they're gorgeous. I mean, frankly, the sentimentality, whether you're looking at Joan of Arc or this beautiful young maiden who has an avenging angel, which I also believe is Joan of Arc getting a message from God that she needs to take up the sword and fight for France. They're stunning, they're beautiful, they definitely have their place, but the word fix, and I run across it today, even on eBay and on websites, fix is not gold. Here's a gorgeous, stunning piece. I believe this is a Boucheron or Chalmain piece. The center is a fix. The outside is all 18 karat gold, ruby, and diamond, but the center is a fix. But there's nothing wrong with that. It was done with intent. It's just today we have to have the realization that we're looking at it with 21st century eyeglasses, that it's not gold. Stunning, but not gold. Next. Gimel rings. Gimel rings can actually be 2 rings or 3 rings. And quite often they're a sign of betrothal or friendship, clasping hands at the top, that when the rings are apart, it's a singular hand. And for a betrothal, the partners were each given, and this is based on George Kuntz's book written back at the turn of the last century, each partner was given one of the rings to wear. So the woman got a hand, the man got a hand in the case of a 2-band, and at the wedding ceremony, they were joined together and the woman wore them. In the case of the 3 bands with the heart, the witness hung on to the middle ring, the heart ring, and at the ceremony handed it to the couple, so all 3 became together with the hand clasped over the heart. Gorgeous, stunning, incredibly fragile. They're still being made today, unfortunately. Well, fortunately, they're still being made today. Unfortunately, they're being marketed as vintage and antique when quite often they're molds pulled from pieces. Here's a gorgeous Gimel ring that is in the V&A Museum that is all enameled. And this is talking about what God has put together, let no one pull apart. It shall not be removed on this side of life. And when that band is put together, that the verbiage is all concealed, so you don't see it. It's a hidden message for the wearer. which I adore. I mean, I love anything that's got a secret message. Next. Here we have stomachers. First of all, stomachers look like something you should, I mean, when you see the word, you automatically think, oh, I should find a Pepto-Bismol or something. Stomachers occur, what they mean is basically bejeweled ornaments that fit the bodice of a woman from mid breastbone down to the waist. As you can see here, I'm of course Queen Elizabeth. I'm not going to get by without having a queen in here. She had her stomacher pieces all, well, frankly, she kind of overdid it. She has them stitched everywhere on that dress, but she does have some massive pearl strands going down the middle of that stomacher. Because originally a stomacher, it was a V-shaped panel that all the jewels were sewed to because they were so heavy. And here you see a beautiful Georgian paste example of what a stomacher looked like. But if we go back to the other one, here we're back at Queen Mary. And this is 1922. She is on a state trip to Belgium. And you see her wearing this incredible all diamond stomacher. Well, she actually has quite a few of the royal jewels on her there, not only on the sash, but the big collars and the big tiara. But the stomachers are kind of passe today. Quite often I see them broken up or changed so that they can be broken into smaller, easily wearable pieces. Or, as I said, unfortunately, just basically broken up for parts and reused. It's a fad that isn't really around anymore unless we go to a lot of state dinners. Next. Favorite one, chatelaine. Chatelaine basically is an implement that since ancient Roman times has been worn by the person in charge of the house. Frankly, it was almost always a woman, so I'm going to use that for it. The woman in charge of the house. She had the responsibility to oversee everything going on to make sure the house was run efficiently, that food supplies weren't disappearing. So she would carry these necessary tools. There would be scissors, keys to where you kept your silver, keys to where you stored your tea, keys to where you kept your sugar, locked areas for jewelry, locked doors. She had a lot going on, and this was an organizer for her to keep everything right at her fingertips that could be easily transferred from outfit to outfit. So quite often they were a clip onto a belt at the waist. But you'll see vinaigrettes there. You'll see the little eggs, which were made to hold thimbles quite often. And the bottom on the enamel one on the right is a 1765 piece. It's at the Victoria Albert Museum. And the bottom one held scissors. So it was something for a wealthy woman who probably really didn't have a lot to do with the running of her house, but still met with the housekeeper every morning. So her chatelaine contained tools for her leisurely sewing or stitching that every Victorian woman was considered to be adept at. But it got to be comedic. So here we have how to make a chatelaine a real blessing to mothers. Long chains attached to wayward children, wayward dogs, and pulling a cart with yet more children. Or on the right, look at the chatelaine that Edward has given her. Okay, I'd be a little bit worried. We have everything but the kitchen sink on that. It got to be that they were actually a prestigious symbol. It showed, number one, your husband's wealth, because you could do jeweled tools, you could do things that really were a luxury. They weren't a necessity to be on a chatelaine's belt, but they were there for prestige. All right, let's go to the next one. Oh, folks, like I said, this was going to be a shorter one. I would like to thank you for attending. See if there is any questions. Well, thank you guys. It was short, it was quick, it was sweet. Normally I do longer ones with real jewelry, but given these times, don't have access to it at this moment. So folks, thank you again. Be sure to check out our website. JB Hudson is open for curbside and online delivery or online ordering, and we can deliver and courier. So come see us, give us a call. Other than that, it's Kimberly saying good night. I appreciate it. Give us a review. Thanks so much. Talk to you later. Bye.